was under the impression that there was a group that was maybe going to ticket his home. Do you know anything about that? So can I just tell you, I'll defend him to the death, okay?
They want to talk to the guy.
Leave him fucking alone at his house, buddy.
Oh.
Okay? I'm just telling you.
So, Dr. Blogget, I know you've worked for Sanofi in the past for their yellow fever program here in Utah. And I know you've also mentioned recently about the, you have faith in their new COVID vaccine that they're working on. Can you tell us how you plan to keep any conflict of interest or bias from influencing your decision in picking the best vaccine? And how, second part of the question, you plan to keep it as an open choice so that people can choose it if they want to, but will not be obligated to take it?
So I'm not sure how information gets out. I'm not sure how information gets out, but
Can you hold the microphone a little closer to your mouth, sir?
I've never worked for Sanofi. We serve as a vaccine site for yellow fever, which is a Sanofi vaccine. We are one of 4 vaccine sites that's allowed to do that, so that places me as an investigator for the vaccine, but that I never have gotten a penny from Sanofi, so I don't know where you get your information. 2, yeah, I hope it's never a mandatory vaccine. It's not our plan to have it mandatory.
Could you step to your left so we don't get any feedback from the mic? There you go. Thank you so much.
Hello. So there is the Great Barrington Declaration that has come out. Over 500,000 concerned citizens have signed it. Over 50,000 doctors have signed it, and over 11,000 other medical professionals have signed it as well. It states that shutting down the economy was the incorrect approach, as well as mandating masks was incorrect, and that we should protect the elderly and those most at risk, that it should be a focused protection plan. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
So I don't think you've been to our website. I just posted a post yesterday or 2 days ago that essentially agrees with that. So we never shut down. We've never issued any regulations. We've never done any of that here. So all of your emails were just strange to me because we've never done any of that stuff. So I think people need to understand that your local health department is not the state health department. It's a very different entity. We are not in the chain of command or anything like that from the state. We have a local board of health that dictates the activities of the health department. We are not the state health department, but it is the state health department that promulgates all the rules and everything that we've been functioning under. And so very different things and very different places where that comes from. So
no, go ahead.
I just want to say I'm really, really grateful because I've heard a lot about things that you've done and said. I'm Laura Bean, by the way, and I guarantee if you didn't have the job you did, I bet you'd probably be a part of our group as my guest. So I'm just grateful for everything that you've participated in as far as looking out for we the people. I think you really are on the side of the people. Yeah. And I think St. George is special, and I think we're really, my opinion, I think we're really lucky to have somebody who's educated. I think you understand what's really going on and the agendas at play. So yeah, I just wanted to stress, we are very, very friendly, and we appreciate everything you're doing. My only question really, I don't know if you guys have this question too, but why exactly, and like I said, you probably don't have authority over this, so like you said, why do you think kids right now are being pushed to continue to wear masks even though the state of emergency has been lifted? Like, what's the authority? Do you know? Like, I know it's not you, so. But the emergency.
That came out, that was part of the governor, well, it's actually the Utah Department of Health mandate. So it came out of the state health department, and they have the school manual, which you can read online, which dictates everything that happens in the schools and things like that. So yeah, that's where it came from.
The state health
It really comes down to citizens obeying and perverting the law along with the governor.
So much. Go ahead, Bud.
I appreciate you being here. I listen to you each time you're on the radio. I believe context matters. I bet we agree, and that a number alone is worthless. It has to be held against something, context. And so it's two questions that I want your opinion on, and then if you disagree with the state's opinion, I'm wondering if what you're doing to make sure that the health department knows your opinion. And the first is, we hear a lot about the contraction rate, but wouldn't we also really want to promote the common knowledge to everybody what the overall contraction rate is? Meaning you don't know everybody that's contracted it because they don't all go to the hospital. Like I would never go. I would stay at home and get better. But knowing how much of the population has it, a percentage, would certainly put even the contraction rate in proper light, let alone the hospitalization rates, which you're capturing 100% of. But you don't know how much of the populace has it. The second thing is if masks don't work hypothetically, but everybody acts like they do, aren't they actually spreading the disease more rapidly by acting like it's protecting them when it isn't? So I'm operating on the premise that they don't, because history kind of lent itself to that position. And if your opinion is contrary to the state, what are you doing to make sure they know? Thank you so much.
Well,
Sorry.
so the CDC actually did a study here that showed that probably 11 people have contracted COVID for every one that we find out about. So it's an interesting question. The problem is you don't have a test that you can report from that, right? So I to be honest with you, don't like publishing the numbers every day, but that decision was made a long time ago, and it's been very popular, and people really want to see that number. And so we just post those numbers, but there isn't a way we don't have widespread antibody testing or anything like that to say these people had it, but we never knew about it. So it's hard to have that conversation other than saying there's plenty of evidence that there's lots of people that get this that we never know about in those numbers. Absolutely. I think that the data is pretty good that masks help in spreading the disease, and it should be part of your toolbox for when you don't want to expose somebody that you know and love. And so I think part of the problem with the dialogue we've had about all of this is we haven't kept our eye on the ball, right? So we know pretty well who it is that gets impacted by this disease. It's the elderly, it's people that have underlying medical conditions, and we need to be focused on what do we do to keep people from exposing those that are most at risk. And I think that gets lost in some of the other rhetoric, and I don't think that that's the way it should be. So I would hope that if you're headed into a nursing home or to see grandma that's 85 or something like that, you would consider whether or not a mask would be part of your toolbox in that scenario, right? I think that's different than a mask mandate, and that's a discussion we can have. But my research and my study is masks make a difference, and so when you're spreading droplets, which is how this disease spreads, it spreads from in close proximity. All of the data we have matches really well with the droplet spread disease, and in that context, then masks make a difference, and so I would invite you to consider whether that's part of what you would use when you don't want to expose somebody that might be.
Hi, thank you so much. My common sense says that that's not true, because all these years, my husband's a physician, and the physicians would see patients all day long who are sick, and they never wore a mask, ever. The surgeons did, in surgery, but the physicians didn't, and they didn't do it in emergency rooms. So I don't understand that. And if I'm not sick, who am I going to infect? I mean, that's the reality. If I'm not sick, why would I wear a mask that is detrimental to my health?
So, your analogy of doctors isn't a good one, because doctors do wear masks, right, when they're in surgery. And so the reason they wear their surgery. And so, I think you can agree to disagree. And I'm happy to have the discussion be about masks instead of shut down society, right? I mean, I think it's a whole different issue that we're facing now than we faced before. And so, nobody's going to make you wear a mask. And the message is, you wear a mask, right? At least from our health department, nobody's ever gone up and forced anything. We're not going to do that. It just doesn't happen that way. And so I'm here to tell you the science, though, that masks make a difference when you have the disease and you transmit it to somebody else. And so let's use the analogy of a seatbelt, right? You wear a seatbelt, and maybe one time that you get in that car out of 1,000, that's going to make a difference. But if you don't have that seatbelt on, it really makes a difference, right? And so if somebody is spreading the disease like they do for a day or two before they have any symptoms, keep it going. Then that's that moment when the mask makes a difference. So.
Well, I guess my observation is twofold. I'm a general contractor by trade. And we wear masks all the time. My issue is if you just look at the public in general when they're wearing masks, two things I see. They're touching everything and they're adjusting their mask 100 times a day, which to me puts whatever's that they're touching right up where it doesn't need to be. But also, if you did a monitor right now underneath your mask, your carbon dioxide content would be above what OSHA requires for confined space. There's no doubt. So what you equate that to is taking the fumes from your tailpipe and put them in the carburetor of a vehicle. That doesn't work. That's my first question. My second observation is this. The CDC on their own website says that this has a 0.26 mortality rate, which means that 99.74% our immune systems get rid of it immediately. Are we going to do this for everything that comes along now with a 0.26? That I don't know how they can. Do you foresee that happening?
Yeah, well, I hope not. I mean, that's, I don't know why we have done some of the things we've done, but I guess we'll just have to disagree about masks. I'm telling you from a perspective of where I'm at, I'm not going to be the guy enforcing masks, and people will be able to choose. But I really wish when you go see Grandma, you consider whether you want to expose her. So I know these stories, and the problem is you don't know when you're sick, and that's the problem. No, you don't. If you're spreading this for 2 days before you walk into there, that's a big difference, right? Take the choice. That's the thing, and I've never been a mask mandate advocate. I just feel it's my duty to say I think masks make a difference in the overall picture of what you can use in your armament. Staying outside is important. 6 foot spacing is important. All of that makes a difference in this whole debate. And I would hope you'd consider using a mask if you're going to go see somebody elderly, because that's who we're trying to protect.
Go up there. I have a question, because we contacted the governor of Utah concerning the masks. He said that he has abdicated the mask decision and the health decisions for the counties to the county controllers. And it's my understanding you're the head person for the county in deciding it. And you made a statement that you're not mandating masks. Well, if you're not mandating masks, how come we have to wear them every time we go in a store, every time you come near somebody, and you say, well, it's not abdicated by the county, but the county's got to be putting pressure on those stores to make them do it. Most of the stores and restaurants don't want to make you wear a mask. The employees don't want to do it. So that's why they're saying that. We ask them about the masks. Most people don't realize that when you breathe in through a mask, you're breathing in oxygen primarily. When you're breathing out carbon dioxide. And eventually breathing that mask, as it gets more and more plugged up, pretty soon you have a high percentage of carbon dioxide. And what vital organ in your body is first affected by the shortage of oxygen? It's your brain, exactly. And now we're doing it to the children who are at school, who are 0.0001% of catching this, and we're making them wear masks. And with the plastic, we want to know, you as the county supervisor, are you trying to tell the people in this county that either you're being pressured by the state, or it's your decision that you're going to keep us all handcuffed, and the stores and the businesses and everybody else? And it's not just masks. It's the common sense reasonable that if it was as bad as what you're saying and worse than the flu, we'd all be infected by now, because half of us have already got it and been over it.
Wow. Good.
So here is how the law is structured. First, there is the school rule, which is a completely separate rule. So that one is all the governor. Second is the governor's new risk transmission index. So in the new risk transmission index, if you are in the high risk, then you are automatically in a mask mandate governed by the rule. And that's where we are, right? We're in the high risk.
From the governor, or who has?
From the state health order. Then, if you're not in the high risk, you're in the moderate or the low risk. Then, if you want a mask mandate, then the county administrators, not me, but the county administrators, are allowed to implement that. Now, do I think that will happen here? No, I don't. But that is the leeway that is in the law. There isn't a mandatory mask rule, but you're allowed to put one in place as a county from the county administrators if you want to do that. But as we are in the high risk, then that means under the Utah Department of Health guidance or requirements it's a mandatory mask rule, not county.
Who's our county administrators? You mean our Sheriff Corey Kosofer? No.
Who's the county administrators? Her question.
County commissioners. I don't see them ever putting a mask mandate in.
Okay.
Roll.
Oh, yeah.
Let me address that other question. So now each individual business and each individual's place of work and all of that, they have the leeway to implement their own rules, right? There is no rule that says you can't implement a rule. So when you go to Walmart, that's Walmart corporate policy. They can put that in however they want it to be.
DMV is not a business, it's a public office.
Yeah, but they can do it themselves too, right? It just depends on what they're comfortable with. So the courts are different. Everybody has the right to do what they feel comfortable with in their workplace, and that's their responsibility.
Okay. I have a question too and a statement. Sorry. My business was destroyed by all these mandates in South Florida. I used to live here 13 years before I left to Florida. I came back because there was a sense of normalcy here, but I've seen it in the last 5 months since I've been here, everything escalating, and businesses really clamping down on this. They have no right to discriminate on people who have a choice to do with their body whatever they want to do. This country was founded on freedom and individual choice. And now we have bureaucrats establishing policy and reporting numbers to the state, and they're ramping up their mandates. And I can see the pattern coming over to St. George, Utah, that I saw in South Florida. I can see the same thing. They were pretty brutal over there. They had shelter in place for 3 months. They shut down every business. They then opened with a 25% capacity to the restaurants. The policy that you are establishing here through the data that you report is mostly through the PCR test. And we all understand and know that the PCR test only tests for antibodies. So most people have the antibodies for any corona, and they don't detect specifically COVID-19. We know that. And so we're using a PCR test to report numbers to the state, and they're clamping down on us, the people, and I already lost my business, and I'm having a hard time paying rent. And I've never in my life been in that position before. And I think, that's coming here to St. George, and it's coming to Utah, and we're not happy about that. We want you guys to do the right thing.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out where to start. One,
Go with the PCR
so PCR test does not test for antibodies. That's just not true. PCR test is an amplification test that identifies viral DNA and then tells you whether or not you've been infected with the virus.
But isn't it true that if they amplified enough,
No, it is not true. If you've never been exposed to COVID, it won't show you positive.
detect exclusively COVID-19 virus, but any coronavirus?
No, it only detects COVID-19, and they've done a lot of it's called generalizability or cross compatibility, and it is just not there. This is a very specific test, and it's great technology, but it's very, very sensitive, and I think we're headed to tests that will test for infectiousness, not for amplification of a few virus particles. But it does not test for antibodies.
How accurate do you think it is?
It's incredibly accurate. It's 99+% sensitive, 100% specific. So
all of the false, I mean, we hear about false positives, we hear about people that were never even actually tested, that turned up positive.
We don't just hear, we actually know them.
We hear
So even if you have a 99% sensitive test, there's going to be 1 out of 100 that are wrong, right? I mean, it's just as good as testing can get. But that's...
As far as I understand, he was a vehement defender.
So let me just say it this way. It's not my decision, right? That's what the state's using. Everybody that goes in gets a test. The test goes to the state, gets forwarded to the state, and then the state reports the numbers. So none of that is even in my bailiwick. So you can talk all day to me, and it doesn't matter. But I'm telling you, this PCR is a good test. Antigen testing is going to be even better, though, because you'll be able to see in real time, really, whether you're infectious, and that will help change the whole dynamic of what we're looking at here. And that's what I'm excited about.
So we can expect zero county pushback toward the state, is what you're saying, as far as mandates? There's going to be no even attempt to correct the state, even if you disagree with what the state's doing?
No, I sit on a lot of those committees, and I give feedback, and I tell them what I think. But it's one voice in hundreds, right? And so you do what you can in the context of what you have, but it's a big issue, and it's a complex issue. So there's this group that's on this side. I've got other groups that are way on the other side. I think the fact that anybody can go outside their home is a travesty, right? And so somewhere we have to come to a balance, and there aren't any great balances on any of it, but we've tried to do the best we can here, and I think we've done a pretty good job.
My question and statement is that we have a government that's for the people, by consent of the people. And what we have right now going on is our elected representatives are putting it all on you guys who have the,
You're not elected.
We're not responsible. That's why they put it on you guys. And now we're sitting here in the parking lot with somebody who can't give us any answers, which does us no good, kind of along the lines of him. This is government for the people. Now, how do you feel answering our questions? You just get to pass the buck, and this doesn't work for the people. Now, where do we go for a redress of grievance?
Exactly. Exactly.
I think he's answered a lot of our questions.
Very good.
We just don't like the answers. He's answered all of our questions here the best he could.
And I'm not putting it on you. I'm saying you're a scapegoat for the government.
Against the mandate. We don't have anybody else that's fighting against mandates like this man. So
well,
I'm not.
How is he
not
fighting? Well, I
agreeing
know
with all
businesses that are closing their doors because of a mandatory mask thing. They think it's mandatory. What are you going to do?
One guy that is.
I'm not beating up on you, but I feel like you're a scapegoat. And who do we go to is my question for a redress of
So who is it that creates the laws in our society, right? They're the people.
Well, the governor says, oh, the legislature says it's the governor says it's you. Then it's everybody's pointing a finger at somebody else. My question is, where do we go?
Exactly.
Who do we hold responsible for this? Because they're not laws. These mandates are not laws. We want a redress of grievance.
That's right. That's right.
The system is the same as it's always been, right? Laws are made by the legislative branch. They're implemented by the
But they're not obeying the law.
And so those are your people that you need to talk to.
These aren't laws, these are demands. And there's no
On the mic, please. On the mic.
Other people have questions.
He doesn't have lawful authority.
Hi, my question is, what is happening to the restaurants and businesses? They're putting signs up by order of the health department. Are there people coming and checking businesses and putting pressure on them, or are they just doing that of their own volition?
Yeah.
There's signs that says it's from the health department.
So, there's not pressure from the health department to put those up. So I actually have seen those recently, and I'm trying to figure out. They must have come out very beginning when we. I don't know. So there is a mandate from the governor that in this high-risk state, then everybody's required to wear a mask into the restaurant. They have to have 6-foot spacing. All of those things are in place from the current public health order. But there is another side to this for most businesses, and that is they need to have people feel comfortable when they come into their places, right? And so otherwise people don't come out. So the consumer confidence index, which is something they look at, is the lowest it's been in 50 years, right? And so when people don't feel comfortable coming into a place, then they won't. And so they've taken efforts and steps to try and show that they're doing a good job of that. And so there's a checklist that you can download off the state website that says, here's all the things we're doing to help stop the spread of COVID. And that's a voluntary activity on theirs to show that they've done that. What's that?
What about herd immunity? Why do we want to stop the spread for the healthy people in the community?
So,
why not get herd immunity, get this done and over with? The elderly, those that are immune compromised, get them.
Hey, microphone.
Yes.
Come to the mic.
Why don't they have masks?
We're using the microphone.
Okay.
Come on up.
Yeah.
Wait in line. I've been waiting a long time. It's all good. Well, I'll get a question. I'm Larry Myers. Thanks for coming out to talk to us. I'm running for school board against what they've done, and I represent several different groups that have concerns about this. But I appreciate you talking to us. We really do appreciate the dialogue. So let me focus in. My question is kind of a follow-up to that last one about the businesses, particularly like restaurants and other places that are doing these things, and they claim they're in fear of some consequences if they don't do those things. Restaurants, spacing out tables, making you wear a mask in the waiting area, whatever it may be. It's my understanding you're saying our local health department is not enforcing that. And if that's what you're saying, who is enforcing that? Can you tell us if anybody is enforcing that, or is it just a myth that somebody's enforcing that here in Washington County? Could our restaurants just say, thank you, State Health Department, for giving us these nice guidance that you've given us, but we're not going to follow it, and we expect zero consequences? Can you confirm that the county not enforcing the state order? And if you're not enforcing it, who is enforcing the state order?
Yeah.
So, so we're not enforcing it. And even the governor in his press conference said, no, nobody's really going to enforce this. It's basically guidelines for safety, right? So in the end, the penalty could be a Class B misdemeanor and a month in jail with any public health order. And so I don't think anybody's interested in doing that to anybody. If they're not wearing a mask, if they're not doing things right. So there isn't anything that holds back a restaurant from doing any of that. Other than they're in a bind too, right? Because they want people to come to their place, and they want to be perceived as doing things that stop the spread of disease and all of that kind of stuff. So we haven't done that at all from the beginning. So.
I had a lot of questions. Thank you for answering them, because a lot of my questions have been asked. But I want to go deeper. My name's Cassandra Levitt. I want to go deeper. Why do you think we are where we are with COVID-19 when we've never been this way for any other virus, anything else? Do you think that it's possible there's a bigger agenda, something deeper, that we are being held hostage to promote that agenda?
I will answer it with this. There have been 4.3 billion news articles created about this disease.
Okay, I think we understood that, right? Okay. Is there any more questions? Yes. Yeah, it's your turn. There you go. Thank you.
My question is why are we so afraid? Why are we turning to fear from this disease that has such a low mortality rate? And in fact, we're causing so much harm doing it. Harm to physical, mental well-being for our kids. I hate seeing little kids wearing masks, and it's like the psychological that goes along with that. We can't have authentic one-on-one relationships with people because we're all afraid of each other. And how is this potential risk of COVID worth all of this other harm that we're causing with our whole, the economic state that we're craziness happening? I don't see that this is worth all of that. And for those who do and who are concerned, let it be a choice. Let them choose to stay home. Let them choose to wear a mask. But I don't want to feel forced or coerced to do anything. I want to be free, and that is what our forefathers died for. And I want to stand strong with them.
There we go.
And herd immunity. Yes. Yeah, what is your opinion on herd immunity?
Give him back the mic.
And also, do you think there's cross reactivity with previous coronavirus cases where we already have some immunity? What's your thought on that? Both.
What was the question?
You need to say it in the mic. Everybody needs to hear.
Let's let him answer.
So I think, unfortunately, there are very few issues in our society that are not divisive, right? And I think we've lost the ability to be civil as a society, and I think we've lost the ability to come together on issues. I think there is a side to this that focuses on the empathy side, saying, oh, I saw somebody get sick from this and they got really sick. And I don't think anybody should ever get sick from it again. And there's another side that says, yeah, but there's a whole bunch of other people that didn't get sick, right? And so I think there's, in the middle of all of this, we're trying to make sense and come to grasp in a way where there are no right answers, right? And so, by definition, that's politics, right? And so I think the science is one thing, I think the politics are another. And the interpretation of the politics are different than we've done in the past, right? I mean, when we talk about flu kills 60, 80,000 people a year. We've always said, be careful not to get the flu, wash your hands, all of those kinds of things, right? And so you'll have to ask other people than me as to why we've gone this way, but I understand what you're saying.
I would.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, another thing I was going to say too is like, let's talk about risk assessment. You know, it's like there's risk in everything. You know, it's amazing that we get out of our houses every day because, you know, there's a risk that we could get in a car crash. I want to live my life in freedom and have a beautiful life. I don't want to live from a space of fear. I want to live faith over fear. You know, and it's like, it's the quality of life that we choose to live instead of just existing. And that's pretty much what I have to say. And that's really what, when I go into a store and I feel so much, it's frustrating to go shopping right now because I feel so much pressure and harassment to wear a mask, and it makes no sense to me to wear a mask. I mean, yeah, we agree to disagree. It really doesn't make sense to me. And yes, I know, and I usually don't, but it's interesting because I feel this segregation happening.
More now.
And it's like history. I really did. It's like history is repeating itself. It's like now we're not segregated, you know, black or white, but it's like now I feel segregated whether you're a mask or not a mask wearer, and it's really strange experience. And I just don't. I don't. The numbers don't justify all of these illegal mandates, and unelected officials are calling shots. Or at least Governor Herbert doesn't want to take accountability, and you know, he's passing on the buck, and it's just really frustrating. Yeah, and then also we wanted you to talk about herd immunity and elaborate on that.
So I hear you. So thank you for that. Concept of herd immunity is a interesting concept. It wasn't actually developed for a natural disease. It was developed for the idea of why you vaccinate. And so if you vaccinate enough people,
That's not true.
Then,
The theory was way before vaccines.
well, the question is, are we afraid of herd immunity? And the answer is no. We're headed for that quickly anyway, right? No matter what we do. And so whether.
So why prolong it? Let's just get it done.
I'll refer you to the earlier discussions about all of this, right? All of this is in the political realm. It's not in my realm, and I'm just your local guy, and unfortunately, this has been dictated by far higher levels than me. But we've tried to do the most reasonable job we can of trying to sort through data and evidence and be as reasonable and in the middle as we possibly can, and then that just makes everybody not like you, right? So I've tried.
Let me say one more question. How many more? One more question. Oh, there's a series of questions. Okay, let's have that happen then. Can you stand over here so that we're away from the speakers?
Yes, so I have a few questions. So first of all, can you, as far as I understand, you said you guys do not make any mandates as a Department of Health. Is that correct? Do you make recommendations to governor and so on to make these mandates?
Well, there's a big committee.
Yeah, he said he speaks on the committee and makes suggestions.
Cool. So you guys don't explicitly mandate anything, you do some sciencey stuff. Now, you can probably recommend to have mandates to wear masks and so on based on some evidence you gather that masks work. Is that correct? Do you, when making these recommendations, also consider counter arguments such as, I don't know, suicides caused by lockdowns or whatever, alcoholism, mental health issues. Just, whatever counter arguments may be, do you actually consider that? Or is that just beyond scope of your responsibility?
I certainly do, and what I consider.
So they, in your opinion, don't outweigh the death caused by COVID itself?
I didn't say that. I said somebody else made those decisions.
Give him the mic.
Well, I'm asking, like, do you personally think so, or what's your part in making these mandates happen?
I don't make mandates happen. They come out from the governor, and people do with them what they will. I don't know how to answer that question.
Are you saying they don't consider your science? You have no part in the process of making these mandates. Is that correct?
So I make the recommendations I make, and then whatever comes out of that committee, that's what comes out. And often it looks pretty one-sided,
What have you recommended so far?
What has he recommended so far is the question.
I don't think that's important.
Yeah, the man's on our side, people.
Okay.
Not totally. You're never going to get one totally. He's about as on our side as anybody that I've seen.
I want to know, if
He's
you
out
didn't
here.
wear
Come
your
here.
mask, would you get fired?
If you didn't wear the mask, would you get fired?
He wears the mask.
Yeah, we'd love for you to take the mask off, really, so we can identify you. We don't know. We can't see who you are, just your eyes. That's, this is one of the problems. We have lost all that. I think we've made a lot of questions. If there's no more questions, I'd like to finish this. I'd like to... Oh, he has one more question. Okay, this is it. This is the last one.
Okay, so a few weeks back, 2 or 3, this group of physicians called AmericasFrontlineDoctors.com, that's what their organization, they've come together. They gave a press conference on the steps of the Supreme Court, and they gave an accounting of the COVID facts in the line of duty, where they've had direct experience with treating COVID patients, and they have been censored and had their videos taken down off of the web because they didn't go along with the agenda mainstream narrative. And I wondered if you have seen that video, and if you have not, will you go watch it, and will you take that information from these experienced physicians and push it up the line so that we can all get truth and be informed about what COVID is really doing, not the lies that are coming out of the media.
Hydroxychloroquine is a cure.
All I can do is reiterate, I'm one guy. I've tried those things. I am one voice, and I do the best I can given the circumstances.
Okay, well, let's finish, because I think he's been gracious, right? We don't agree with everything he said, but he's been gracious, and we appreciate you coming out here. And we'll see, we need to hold our public officials accountable. There's some agreements and disagreements from everything that has been said. And if there's anybody that wants to make a finishing remark, and just one, we'll finish and adjourn. Yes, ma'am.
Like you say, we're all responsible for ourselves, and if every one of you here refuse to wear a mask politely when you go somewhere, that can make a difference. I know. I have not worn a mask yet, and I go to Costco, I go everywhere. Yeah, I understand. What my son did, he wandered around the store when they tried to kick him out, and then he just went to a self-serve and checked and bought something anyway. Yeah. Okay, then we don't go to those stores. We don't go to. If enough of us don't go, do you think Harmon's going to keep doing it? No. Follow the money.
Hit him in the pocket.
Vote with your dollars. Yeah. Follow the money.
So we need to support him when he comes up for trial, and I think it's in about a week. So I think November 9th at 9 a.m. he's going to be held accountable in the court, so we should go there and stand up for him.
Absolutely.
I agree. We should support all of this and say, you know, what comes up for me in this meeting? What comes? Oh, sorry. What comes up for me in this is we kind of got it from the horse. I mean, we don't know who's accountable for this mandates. We can't track that down because apparently there is nobody there's no redress of grievance. So what we can do is say, spread the word in our community. There's no enforcement. You guys are, and I know stores that are doing it. The Gold Ore store down here on Main Street, they did the opposite. They said no masks allowed in our store. Then they got some bad reviews and they had to reverse that and give people the choice, which is, you know, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. But let's spread the word far and wide that this is completely elective. And let everybody know, because there's a lot of misinformation going around like it's a mandate. What is a mandate? So just, you know, let's spread the word. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off his comment. A lot of businesses actually agree with us. I walked into Spirit of Halloween with my son. We touched all the costumes. We tried them on. They said nothing. We were the only 2 maskless people in the store. So businesses won't stop you. A lot of times you just have to be brave enough to do it. Be the only unmasked person. They can't say anything. Yeah.
And what they were trying, it came up earlier about the restaurants. And I understand. I know what he was saying. Like they don't want to have their business go down, so they're trying to cater to the far left and the far right. You can't.
Not all of
but yeah,
Georgia's Corner doesn't.
All I wanted to say was, I truly believe that the far majority of people do not agree with this mask thing, okay? Yeah. But they maybe don't mind it, so they just put up with it, okay? I truly believe that if these restaurants would say, this is bullcrap, I don't care, they would find that their business would increase. Yeah. So I think we need to get them to know. I don't know exactly how to do that, but we need to let them know we will come. Just don't make us feel uncomfortable. That's all we're asking.
And same with stores.
Hey, you know what? We could organize a let's go out and eat night between all of us, right? We'd have a lot of fun, right? Storm Dosa, yeah. So, yeah. Oh yeah. So hey, everybody sign up with People's Rights. Text the word rights to 80123.
Did you read about the Halloween party up north that got in big trouble?
No, I didn't.
Too many people.
They were outside too.
Yeah, not enough masks.
Oh.
On Halloween.
I hope that. I hope they file complaints.
Yeah, I hope they file complaints.
Let's hear what she has to say.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
I know that they're not actual mandates, but they make it seem like they are. And so if we not really enforce it so much, then maybe people actually think that they have a choice.
That's right. Let me say something real fast. So I think what we have here is, a trend where people are seeing other people do things, so they do it too. You feel comfortable in numbers. Nobody wants to be the one with no mask because they feel uncomfortable, things like this. But, this is herd mentality, okay? And we can reverse it by causing a counter trend. So get together with your friends and family when you go somewhere who they try to make you wear a mask, and come in as a group and refuse the mask. And we can organize together to go to these different stores and reverse the trend. And if there's enough of us going in there, what are they going to do?
Yeah, different. Yeah, shopping sprees, shopping parties, right? Restaurants. Yeah.
Mask cool again.
Let's make no mask cool. No mask cool again.
So, Mr. Blogget made it plain, or it sounded like, that the schools were a different, thing. They had different roles, or they had a different person they answered to. What is that? I don't understand that.
With the teachers protesting.
So I'm wondering, there's got to be money or something going on to make them want to do what they're doing.
I'll answer that.
Have you seen non-essential yet?
There are, this money that's coming to every state for COVID relief is tied to what's called a memorandum of understanding from the White House. Okay? So
when they signed this bill, it was it a $3 trillion bill? Wasn't it? 3 trillion? 2.5 or 3, yeah. So you know, we got further into debt, and then the memorandums of understanding have all the mandates attached to it, and they are auditing every state so that all those mandates are in place in every single state. Did you know that Laura Burks was in the state of Utah with the governor 2 days ago?
Yeah, he was here.
She's auditing the state.
Who is that?
Laura Burks.
She's the doctor.
She is the one that stood with Dr. Fauci when the president gave up the podium for 3 months.
She's auditing the state?
She's auditing the state. She is making sure that these mandates are in place here in the state of Utah. She's going to every single state, and they have a task force making sure that all these memorandums of understanding are being enforced in every state that's taking money.
That's a contract with the government, right?
It is a contract with the government, exactly.
For the money.
For the money, absolutely. So listen, we are in big trouble. We've been lied to many times over.
Well, Herbert made a contract too.
Herbert made a contract with the federal government, and the White House has a staff that calls every state all the time to make sure that everything is being enforced. That's what's happening. You know, this is under Trump, as hard as it is to say, because I hate the alternative.
Got to get a copy of that memorandum.
It's coming out.
Is there an expiration date? What are the terms?
Yeah, we'll see what. Yeah, it's coming out. It's already.
It might be deep state, not Trump behind
Well,
his back.
well, okay. We're not going to pin it on anybody right now, but you know, I mean.
One man and he's like all alone.
Yeah. Well, I can't pin it on anybody right now, but you know, this is happening under this administration, which is terrible. But the alternative, I know it's worse. I really believe that. So anyways, we're gonna adjourn. Thank you so much. Thank you all.